In today's episode, I'll be giving my review and reaction to the 2025 film Superman. Let's dive right into Superman. Do something, man. People are questioning you. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the Dub Cast. Superman, yeah, I thought this was a pretty good superhero movie. I'm not the biggest Superman guy. I don't really understand why people love Superman. Like, he's sort of just basic. I'm much more of a Batman guy from my perspective. I don't know what makes me lean that way, but I've always been, maybe the best trilogy of all time. That being said, I did watch Man of Steel. I did watch Batman vs Superman, which I did think was a slept on movie from the DC universe that people shit on, which is fair because probably if I went back and watched it now, it would be cringy. But when you are a 17-year-old kid in the theater, you see Ben Affleck versus Henry Cavill, okay, and there are a lot of YouTube shorts now talking about how Henry Cavill's Superman was just aura farming while David Corn Swat's Superman was being a real Superman, and this movie's odd because when you look back at it, you're like, wait, Superman just got the shit beat out of him this whole movie. Like, he's getting beat. I mean, the intro of the movie, he literally gets beat up. He loses for the first time, um, and I don't know. I thought that was something that stuck out to me as odd. He's. I think this movie, the theme is that he's a human. He's a human after all. I think um, people want to say he's this and that, and maybe his parents want him to do one thing or the other, but fuck it, he's an actual human. So yeah, I mean, to get into the movie specifics, we have obviously James Gunn. He's rerunning this whole DCU thing, and I'm gonna be honest, guys, I can't keep up with the DC universe stuff. There's Peacemaker out right now, which I don't even know who that is. It's John. I know it's John Cena, but what is a Peacemaker? Who is a Peacemaker? I don't know. I didn't watch. I do intend to watch Blue Beetle. Unfortunately, I had to remove just Zack Snyder Justice League 4 hour cut. I'm not watching a 4 hour movie. Just don't have the time for it. But yeah, James Gunn is back from. I mean, if you guys know anything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 banger, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 banger, Guardians of the Galaxy banger. Just like I mentioned up top with the Arkham trilogy, I mean, I had high expectations for James Gunn coming into this because Guardians of the Galaxy is a really good trilogy of superhero movies, and even Guardians of the Galaxy 3 kind of stuck out of all those other movies that weren't doing so great post Endgame. Really good story there where we don't have to get into the Guardians of the Galaxy, but James Gunn, I think I have high regards for him as a director after watching this movie and also watching the Guardians of the Galaxy. So high expectations were met when this was the blockbuster of the summer where you had this Fantastic Four. What was the other one? Well, the other one, F1, was really good, but that wasn't like superhero guys were coming for the movie theaters to see Superman and Fantastic Four, and I think this is the best. Well, I guess, like, I don't. Does the Pattinson movie even count in the DC universe? I don't even know. I don't know. But this was probably the best movie since the Pattinson movie, at least from the DC side of things, and definitely the best movie. Well, I don't want to. We'll talk about it with my rating, but you can kind of see where I'm going. This is the best superhero movie of this year, and we will have another superhero movie review next, a Fantastic Four first step. So we'll see where I rank that one. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was a pretty good movie, and I mean, I don't want to jump. I'm jumping all over the place. Maybe that's what people like. I don't know, but it felt like a real thing, and I really like the end of this movie, but I don't want to keep skipping ahead. So obviously, James Gunn brings in these new cast of characters. He cleaned house, got rid of Henry Cavill, caused a big panic. But then when people saw that James Gunn was the one who was going to be doing these movies, it made people feel a little better because went he went really good casting on this. I think David Corn Swat's a better Superman than Henry Cavill already. Henry Cavill's got like now I'm just my brain's been rotted by the YouTube shorts, but he's got the aura of Superman, but he doesn't like. I guess he could have been written to do better, but I don't know. It feels David Corn Swat feels more like human, and that's what I think the whole point of Superman's character is that you have this super being who can destroy anything and rule the world if it wanted to, but he's just trying to do the best for mankind. He's basically a human, and David Corn Swat feels more human, where Henry Cavill feels more alien and more like outer being type thing, you know. So I really like that casting of David Corn Swat. Obviously, they bring in some other ones. Rachel Brosnahan, I thought, did a great job as Lois Lane. To be honest, I don't even remember who was Lois Lane in the DC universe, the last one. Obviously, my DC universe knowledge is not up to par. I'm kind of just, I'm in the Batman lore, but besides that, I don't know much about the lore of everyone else. I thought Rachel Brosnahan was a pretty interesting casting choice, just because I feel like, see, now I'm getting all like, there's too many superheroes to keep up with this. Is Lois Lane supposed to have orange hair or something? I don't know, but I thought she did a good job in this movie as well. Standout performance from Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. You know, his speech at the end and him kind of throughout the movie, like, this guy's truly evil, man. And yeah, I thought he did a great job in his role. Some others, I don't know. Oh, Isabella Merced, she plays Hawk Girl, I believe, and she is also from Last of Us, which, I feel like watching movies now, I'm just like, half of me is just like, where is she from? What movie is she from? Where do I know her from? And then luckily, I was with a friend watching this movie in the theater, and yes, you can tell by the day this review is coming out that I watched this a long time ago. Sorry, the Dubcast, we can maybe get into it in this channel update, but it's been rough trying to motivate myself to do these reviews, but we're back. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Okay. Um, yeah, Isabella Merced, they brought in all these extra characters. I didn't even think, like, no one told me Green Lantern was going to be in this. I don't even know who Hawk Girl is. I don't know who Mr. Terrific is, to be honest. And, I know there's multiple Green Lanterns, so I guess we'll get into that. But, oh, Anthony Carrigan from Gotham and Barry. He plays Victor Zsasz in Gotham, so he's crossing over in the DC universe. Anthony Carrigan, I feel like, always has these like very background roles, but his character I thought was interesting as well. So yeah, runtime of 2 hours and 9 minutes. Didn't think that was too long. Or I thought it felt a little bit longer, like in a good way of being longer than 2 hours and 9 minutes. Didn't feel like that was, it didn't drag on at all. It didn't even like, it was a good 2 hours and 9 minutes where like that was only 2 hours and 9 minutes. There felt like there was a lot more content within that 2 hours and 9 minutes. So yeah, we kind of already addressed the beginning of the movie, the introduction to him losing for the first time, and another major character in this movie is Krypto. And how can you not love a dog in a movie, especially one that you know have to, or not have to root for, but you're rooting for? And Krypto is this kind of like annoying dog that's pretty affable throughout the movie, and I like the addition of Krypto. And there's some big ties at the end to where he's from that I guess I just don't know the lore of that either. So good for that. But I did like Krypto throughout the movie, and also the robots. Like, we got none of this crap in Henry Cavill and Man of Steel and this type of stuff. Maybe I remember where I was watching this, but I don't remember like most of the plot details. The robots were cool. I think they're both of these characters, the Krypto and the robots, were both added in for like a comedic aspects where David Cornswell kind of jab back and forth at him, and they're also just there to help though and be like these rootable presences that you can have fun with as well. So I'm sure we'll see the robots and Krypto back in the DC universe in the future. Also, there's going to be like 4 Superman movies, so have fun with that. Yeah, so moving into like the beginning slash, we obviously see he gets the shit beat out of him. Like the middle part of the movie, we get an introduction to Lois Lane with this interview scene that I talked to a friend, not a friend really because I don't know him at all, but we played a Survivor game online together, and he's like, I really like the interview scene. Like, when you say that, I don't know if that's like the human mind being like, oh, that was good, or just like, it didn't stick out to me originally when I watched it, but looking back on it, like, that was a pretty cool scene where she's like, what if I were to interview you as Superman? He's like, go for it. And he's kind of being like this passionate guy and like being his true self. And obviously the whole Clark Kent thing, we don't get much Clark Kent in this movie, which is fine. I guess the glasses I learned are from, they like change the way people look at you. I didn't know that was how that works, but it makes sense because Clark Kent looks exactly like Superman, unlike Batman where he's hidden behind mask, etc. But yeah, I thought intro and like beginning of the movie is probably the weakest part of the movie, just because what happens in like the middle towards the end. But it wasn't like they have to set everything up; they have to basically start from scratch. So I didn't mind it too much. And yeah, he also has the message from his parents, which it's fine. And I guess that's like a big part of the lore as well, because I remember there was something about the parents, is like his original parents in the Man of Steel movie as well. So, of course, once we are introduced to our hero, we also have to be introduced to our villain. It's Lex Luthor, and Superman ain't got a like good setup here, where Lex Luthor just pulls up to his snowy hideout in like Antarctica and just gets everything. Like, bro, you're the most powerful being in the universe, and you don't have like a security code. Where Lex Luthor just hacks. Well, he does have that girl, who I did see the name of what her character's called, but I don't remember. Sorry. But yeah, she can just like shapeshift, and her head like came out of her ass. I think that actually did happen. I just saw a YouTube short on that, so if that didn't happen, I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, she's like fine, and the villains are. I think obviously like the long running villain is Lex Luthor, right? Where he's gonna be the one that's gonna come back, but the other villains were kind of just like lacking personality a little bit. Um, it is what it is. Where one of them's literally, we find out, a clone of Superman. Anyways, so that maybe get a security guard and not a robot who's just gonna get instantly destroyed by Lex Luthor's gang. Meanwhile, they throw the Justice Gang right at you. Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific. We kind of went over that already. Don't know what Mr. Terrific's powers really are. Maybe I should look that up. Or Hawker, really. I just know Green Lantern, can do fun stuff, and they're capturing like this bigger than Earth, um, or not capturing, but they're like fighting this bigger than Earth thing. And Green Lantern, does some shit with. I don't know if it's this part of the later part where he throws up. I think it's the later part where he throws up a middle finger, but good to see them. I don't think we needed them in this movie just due to it being a Superman story, and I don't know. Feels like could have just used. I mean, it didn't take away at all. So I think it's a fine addition, but we didn't need Superman to be like, this didn't need to be a partner film in my opinion, but it worked, so I'm fine with it. Anyways, so the big to do of the first half of the movie is that the message, he only had the first half of it. Second half is that they wanted him to rule the earth and destroy it, which I feel like doesn't make a lot of sense. Where you're, well, it makes sense. Where like our planet's destroying, so we'll conquer this one and work from within almost, and just take it over. Where Lex Luthor is able to recover this message like instantly. Where once again, Superman, you got to maybe beef up your staff. Where these guys can figure it out, your robots can figure it out. So I don't know about that, but yeah, I guess bad intentions from Superman. But like, it's odd for me to think that people just would turn on him instantly when, well, I guess, have we seen that in examples of society? I feel like no. Like, a lot of people like people who have done bad things once or twice, and even if there was a bad message from like a parent, like parents don't necessarily encapsulate the person, So I think people are a little bit quick to judge Superman. Obviously, if you watched any trailer for Superman, you saw this him getting hit in the head with a brick after this. That was one of like the big promo shots. But Superman is like, I'm a good person, so I'll go to Lex Luthor and I'll be the man and just go into his captivity, which was really dumb, especially since Lex Luthor has like infinite. Well, he doesn't have infinite kryptonite, but he basically does, because this guy can just shift into whatever material he wants. I guess his name is Material Man. That's cool. And yeah, Material Man, that's Anthony Carrigan. So ties from there. But yeah, he's hidden in the Pocket Universe. And then Lex Luthor, I guess, just has like hundreds of enemies locked in a Pocket Universe, which later we learn is like lacking stability. Um, so I don't know. I thought the whole idea of a Pocket Universe, and ironically enough, Pocket Universe comes up in Fantastic Four. So it's like, can we come up with a different idea here, guys? I don't know. I just thought that was funny that they're both released around the same time and both have to go to this Pocket Universe BS. But yeah, I think they're trying to show you that Superman is beatable. Obviously, he's freaking crapped on this entire movie, so he's like throughout the middle, probably third of the movie, he's just in captivity from Lex in this Pocket Universe. But Metamorpho. Oh, it's Metamorpho, not Material Man. I'm sorry. He uses kryptonite to essentially torture him and murders his supporter in front of him, which was actually pretty brutal for this movie. I'm not sure what this movie was rated. Um, I felt like that was a pretty brutal scene where the guy just gets executed in front of Superman, but really sending a message there. That was a tough scene to watch. Anyways, while all this is happening, side quest is Lois Lane teaming up with Mr. Terrific to come save Superman. And finally, Superman has been trying to rally Metamorpho to help him and stop hurting him. And he's able to inspire him through his son. A lot of the characters' motivations make a lot of sense in this movie to me, and I think that's what makes everything flow so well. The themes flow because you can actually see the characters' motivations. Besides Lex, he's just evil, but people are evil out there, so it makes sense. But the whole reason Superman came down here was to save Krypto, which I guess is Krypto like bigger than Krypto is bigger than the Earth, I guess, and because he's just trying to save Krypto, not the Earth. Well, I haven't even mentioned the whole. People get thinking it's about politics. It's not about politics. It was just a story within the movie about like it's called Jalapao or something is like rebelling and they're gonna like fire on their citizens. I don't know. It was a side plot that Superman's trying to like play God a little bit, and they don't like that, even though he is an actual God. Classic DC Universe stuff. However, yeah, Lois and Superman both are able to rally people around them to get this crew in the Pocket Universe to save him. And then, this is a nice break in the movie from where we go to this crazy action of Superman breaking out of the Pocket Universe to him going back to his parents. I did really enjoy the scenes of him and his actual parents. Well, not actual, but like adopted parents who obviously are very supportive of him. They're very nice. And we don't even get a lot of them, but I did find those couple scenes heartwarming. And, as someone, I lived at home with my parents for a while until now. So I felt that, and it's very nice to see him like beaten but not down, and then his dad like inspires him to go back out there, and I like those scenes a lot, which leads you to like ascend to the third act of the movie. So meanwhile, another side plot, which I thought this was probably the weakest storyline, was this girl Eve, who's been like dating Lex Luthor, I guess, also is in love with this one editor at the newspaper that they work at. So I thought, kind of a weird coincidence there, but Jimmy, he is able to get some information from Eve to expose Lex's true intentions with Jalapao, I don't know, man. But the true intentions are just to like world domination, of course. It's Lex Luthor. So meanwhile, we have two conflicts rising for this third act. You have the stuff happening in Jalapao, and then you have the stuff happening in Metatropolis, which can we get some cool, I mean, these are cool city names, but yeah, Metatropolis, that's where Superman's going to deal with it. And then Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Metamorpho are going to handle Jalapao. Some funny scenes at the end with, I think this is actually when Green Lantern uses the middle finger just to fuck some shit up. And then Metamorpho is like talking about, there's a funny joke there, but it's been a while, guys. Sorry. But, I like him. He's basically going to join the Justice Gang, or the Justice. I think that was what the joke was about. So yeah, while Superman's fighting, we find ultimate Ultraman twist. He's a version of Superman cloned, and big fights back and forth. These are your big fight scenes, and the movie out. Thought they were fine. Nothing exceptional, but nothing to sleep on for sure. They were good scenes. And something else I didn't mention is Lex is basically just playing a video game with like he's got a crew of guys up in the top of a skyscraper and they're playing freaking Mortal Kombat against Superman. So he's like screaming like A1 0 or B6, and it's cool to see like the moves play out, and then have like Superman's kind of cooked in this universe. Like the game plan's out. It's like once I was going to say, let's say like a football dynasty loses their fastball, but we haven't. Chiefs are just going to win Super Bowl again. Different podcast. Anyways, cool to see this back and forth between Ultraman and Superman. And yeah, basically we find out all the details on Lex. He tried to frame Superman through the conflict due to his anger of the public admiration of Superman. So, once again, the themes make sense that this whole time Lex was just jealous of Superman. So I like those loose ends being tied together. And I think the whole point is that Superman's just human. That's why people like him. But Lex Luthor can't be human. He has like evil tendencies, so that's made him jealous, and then it's a cycle, So we'll see. I'm sure we'll see Lex Luthor back again. Endings. Oh, this scene, right? The confrontation between Lex and Superman. was awesome from Lex Luthor. I thought that was like the most standout acting in this movie for sure. Um, I left, or I was like, holy shit, like I was shaking in my boots when that happened. That was a really good acting scene from Nicholas Hoult. Ending the movie out, obviously Superman's name is cleared, Pocket Universe people are released, and Superman and Lois confess their love for each other and just ascend in like a mall kiss. I guess that would be fun to do if you had the ability to fly. And Supergirl shows up, and the robots play memories from Clark's real childhood and his comfort now, rather than the message they would play at the beginning of his fake parents, or not his real parents, who were just trying to tell him to destroy the world. So that was a good change there, to do the adopted parents, because obviously they have much better intentions than the real parents. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm gonna give it an 8.2. I thought this is the strongest Superman movie, or strongest Superman movie I've ever seen for sure. I've only seen like Man of Steel once and Batman vs Superman, but I did really enjoy the Superman movie. I'm giving it an 8.2. Loved it. Definitely worth the watch in theaters. Unfortunately, it's out of theaters now. I'm just recording this review super late, but I did want to get it out there because there's been a lot of hype about this movie, and I'm on the hype. I thought this was a very good film. Um, so where does this movie compare to the other movies we reviewed so far on the Dubcast? This comes in at number 22 of 69 movies. Nice movies reviewed so far. This is the second of 9 movies reviewed seen in theaters this year, only losing out to Sinners. I will say this and F1 are pretty close. Both have good aura edits. I've actually added the I just say good aura edits casually. Good edits on YouTube Shorts. I've actually added the song from this movie. I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. I've been seeing that so many times on YouTube Shorts. But F1 has some good soundtracks as well. But this is number 2 behind Sinners, and then F1, and then the other movies we've reviewed so far. You can check those out on the channel. And of the 6 movies reviewed so far that are superhero movies, this is unfortunately number 3. I have the 2 Spider-Man movies that I've watched and reviewed on the channel, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I thought those just took more chances and had some more interesting moments slightly, and I thought the whole theme of those worked a little bit better. And the first act of this movie is pretty good, but I think the first act of those movies are pretty like perfect and better than this movie. And overall, Spider-Man or Superman, who do you got? Who's a more affable character? I think Spider-Man, just because I know the lore. Like I played the Spider-Man. It's like, if your favorite superhero isn't Batman or Spider-Man, that's interesting, because I feel like a lot of people would say Batman or Superman, and it's a big debate. Batman or Superman? Who's not Batman or Superman? Batman or Spider-Man? I'm sorry. Maybe Superman would be number 3 for a lot of people, but Marvel, you can dive into whoever. But I feel like the main characters of superhero movies are Batman and Spider-Man. Let me know if there's anyone I'm missing. So yeah, this superhero or Superman is number 3 of the 6 movies reviewed so far. This did beat Deadpool and Wolverine, Thunderbolts, and Captain America: Brave New World. So that's it for Superman 2025. Really enjoyable experience. Glad I saw it. Excited for more James Gunn movies in theaters. Next review for Superman will definitely be out faster. So sorry for this one coming out super late. Hopefully people watch it, because the channel is falling off. No, it's not. You guys are watching random episodes of me and Rat just spew. So yeah, on the channel, NFL has been the real content lately. Weekly streams, trying to do Wednesdays every 7 o'clock Wednesdays. Besides that, expect more movie reviews coming in the future. We're gonna have a little bit shift of content, where I've been advised by a good friend. I listen to the people. So if you comment and you didn't like something, or you did like something, say do more of that, do less of this. I'll listen. Nonetheless, a friend told me, maybe you should just not review all these things and waste all this time on like middling movies, and I agree. So we're gonna be dropping 3 packs of movies in between a 6 and an 8, and then anything below or above will get its own solo review, or anything that comes out in 2025. Y'all hate the old stuff, man. And shows have been dead, besides live shows, which nothing coming out until Survivor. So yeah, basically we're kind of condensing the channel a little bit. Maybe I think sometimes we had too much going on the channel. So especially if we're gonna be mixing in some shoot the shit, off the deep end with dub, as I like to call it. It's going to be a lot to handle. So we're going to keep it chill. So yeah, that wraps up this movie review. Stay tuned for more content. Subscribe, like, hit the bell, comment, dislike, do whatever you need to do. Let me know your opinion of Superman, and what do you think about my review? How could we improve? I'm always looking to improve. I'll probably read your comment shake my head, be like, I shouldn't do that, but then I'll think about it, be like, that's a really good idea. So thank you guys for staying with me the whole video, and we'll see you on the next one. Be easy, y'all.